In the span of one chapter, Amato has captured two extremely important characters in the series. And with this, Amato's goals are almost guaranteed to be achieved. He can't fight, he is weak to torture, but yet he has just become the most powerful person in the Leaf. Power is the capacity, ability, or authority to act, influence, or accomplish something. Amato's power doesn't come from the shinobi skills that he has. His true power comes from the influence that he has on characters that have those abilities. An influence that he has maintained throughout the entire series, from pivoting from Ishiki to then the Leaf. And throughout most of Kawaki's life, Amado had a major influence. That's because Amado made a bet. He believed that by controlling Kawaki, he would eventually be able to control the most powerful person that we know, Ishiki Otsutsuki. But he didn't take control of Ishiki himself, he took control of his power through Kawaki. This is why this chapter is extremely important, because it really marks the moment where Amado has gotten a major hold on Kawaki. He knows about omnipotence, he knows about how desperate Kawaki is to protect Naruto, and now he has full control of Kawaki's powers, which all comes from Ishiki. Using this power/influence, Amado has removed the only person who at this moment seemed like he could prevent the future that Amado dreamed of taking place. As using Kawaki, he has captured Kashinkoji, meaning prescience has fallen straight in the hands of Amado. Amado has now become a singularity of fate, meaning that all of his actions, all the actions that we see him take from now on, will have a major role in the future that comes to be. And with him potentially being the one who knows exactly what futures take place, he will have a major role compared to everybody else. Now, what exactly will Amado do with this power? What we do know is the fact that Amado is well aware of this senjutsu known as prescience. Through Kashinkoji working alongside the Leaf in this current battle, Amado figured out what exactly is Kashinkoji's ability. So there are two things that Amado can do now that he has captured Kashinkoji. The first thing being to take Kashinkoji's eyes. Kashinkoji can see the future using his eyes, so one could deduce that prescience would be connected to his eyes. Thus, by taking those eyes away, Amado could potentially awaken those abilities for himself. Or perhaps he can transplant it onto someone else, a cyborg like Delta, or a new one that he can create for the sole purpose of being the person who is able to see the future and relay that information back at him. This idea does seem pretty interesting on the surface, but I feel that there's a couple problems with this way of thinking. First of all, Kashinkoji doesn't have a dojutsu. Whenever he looks at the future, he does so with his plain eyes. So although looking at the future requires his eyes, it doesn't mean that by obtaining those eyes, one could gain the abilities for themselves. So by taking Kashinkoji's eyes, all he would be really doing is stopping him from seeing the future, but he wouldn't gain that ability for himself. So if that was the true purpose that Amado was trying to do, killing Kashinkoji would be the far better move instead of capturing him if the goal is seemingly to stop Kashinkoji from seeing the future. That's why I think that Amado's plan is going to be way more sinister than we actually think. This is where the second option comes into play, and that is for Amado to reprogram Kashinkoji into his ally that he could potentially manipulate and control. Where in this case, the future that Kashinkoji would be attempting to bring us towards would not be a future where Konoha is safe or the world is safe, but one where Amado's daughter is brought back to life. And because of how things are playing out right now, I'm really starting to doubt what exactly this daughter of Amado might be or do. I do think that the daughter is actually real, as Ada confirmed it herself. But whether she is an Otsutsuki or not is something that has never been confirmed. And due to the fact that Amado said to Kawaki that if his daughter turned into an Otsutsuki, he would still do everything in his power to prevent Kawaki from killing her. And with the amount of control that Amado has on Kawaki, the fact that he has Kawaki's shutdown code and also has control over his power output, If Kawaki tries to kill Amado's daughter, there are so many things that Amado could do to prevent that. And due to that being the case, I am really doubtful of Amado's true ambitions. In addition, the reason why I believe this theory is pretty strong is because we have already seen Amado do this in the past. When it came to Delta, Amado changed her programmings when he came into the Leaf so that Delta would then become an ally of Konoha. I believe that Amado would be able to do the same with Kashin Koji, since Kashin Koji is also a cyborg like Delta and all the other people that Amado has worked on. This would be perfect as Boruto would not notice what happened, because if Kashin Koji was destroyed or his eyes was stolen, Boruto might notice that something went wrong concerning Kashin Koji, and he would then be suspicious of what took place. Which is why for Amado to potentially even control Boruto himself to a certain extent, he has to make sure that Kashin Koji stays alive so that Amado can give Kashin Koji information that he would then relay onto Boruto, and that would be information that would benefit Amado by making it seem like those are the future scenes that Kashin Koji has actually seen. And who better to play the role of a double agent than Kashin Koji, as he has already done so in the past against Ishiki. This is why the move that Amado has just made has made him the most powerful person right now. He has access to Kawaki, who is one of the most strongest characters in the series right now. He has access to Kashin Koji and his prescience ability, and with the fact that he can potentially manipulate Kashin Koji, it means that he can gain some level of control on Boruto through the information that he chooses to give him. So what exactly does this mean for the future and this current arc? Starting with the current arc, I believe that this changes everything. This makes winning this arc even harder as there are more stakes. Kashin Koji being controlled means that the future is going to go exactly like Amado desires, so Boruto should not trust Kashin Koji at all. However, the real question is, when will Boruto realize that Kashin Koji has been tampered with? Especially if we go with the second possibility, where Kashin Koji is reconfigured in a way where he is totally in Amado's control. I believe that Boruto in this arc will slowly and maturely start to realize that he should not trust Kashin Koji. One thing that has already been in Boruto's favor is the fact that he has already started to grow distrustful of Kashin Koji. So the things that will happen in this arc will potentially cement this. This means Boruto will slowly start to part ways with Kashin Koji. This would be a good thing as Boruto would no longer be under Amado's control through the various information that he is feeding Kashin Koji to give Boruto, but this would also mean that Boruto would no longer have access to future training that Kashin Koji could potentially give him, based on various abilities that he realizes that Boruto can come to awaken in future distant timelines. Instead, the person who will have access to this is Kawaki. And something that a lot of people do not realize is the relationship that Kashin Koji has with various characters in the Leaf. Shikamaru and Inogen, they could be influenced by Amado too. And if there ever comes to be a moment where we see that Amado is potentially losing control, Amado would already be 5 steps ahead. Amado has already been 5 steps ahead before gaining the prescience ability. So if you add the ability to see the future itself, who better to use this ability than Amado? This is why things are really scary, as this power seems to be falling on Amado's hands. However, although this is the case and Amado is clearly gaining a level of control, I don't believe that he will try and sabotage us when it comes to the Senju. I believe that Amado would want to take them out, especially if he wants to bring his daughter back to life, as that's one of the conditions that Kawaki has set. So Amado won't ruin anything concerning the future by making the Senju win. However, the concern is, with people like Code, things might be different. There has been a long-standing theory that some people have never heard of, but it is the fact that Amado may have been the person who has been influencing / controlling Code this entire time. The theory is quite simple and apparent. Didn't you notice that Amado was acting weird during the entire situation regarding Ishiki's death? First, let's start with Code and his supposed interaction, quote unquote, with Ishiki's soul. When Ishiki appears to Code through his karma, a karma that really shouldn't be connected to Ishiki at all, there is a lot of gas that pops up, similarly to when Kawaki overheats with his karma. In addition, when Ishiki mentions the people who led to his death, he doesn't mention the fact that Kawaki played a huge part by tricking him. No, there is no mention of that. But aside from that, the thing that really makes me suspicious of what took place at that moment is the fact that a little bit afterwards, when we cut directly back to Amado when the scene of Code and Ishiki is finished, we see that Amado is talking to himself, muttering something to himself while covering his mouth. Katasuke even points this out. And the theory is that it is like this. Amado is the one who was speaking to Code and the one who influenced Code to come to the leaf. Because what does Amado tell us a little bit after the arc ends? He tells us that Code is likely to be coming for Kawaki. And this is the exact same thing that Ishiki told Code to do. The theory is it wasn't Ishiki, in fact it was Amado. We also know the fact that Amado has been tampering with Kawaki's karma, which is why it took so much time to transfer Ishiki's DNA to Kawaki, as Amado was the person who was feeding Kawaki these Byakugan pills to suppress the transfer of Ishiki's DNA on Kawaki, the same pills that he gave to Boruto. So it wouldn't be a surprise to me that Amado is the reason why Code has this defective karma, and Ikemoto wouldn't just waste a panel for no reason. Why is this there? There is a moment when this shot is going to be fired, and we're going to look back at this scene and realize that it was foreshadowing something important. Because this would mean that apart from a few hiccups here and there, Amado has always been in control, slowly amassing power to the point where we are at right now. This is truly terrifying. But there is one person who can stop him, and that is Boruto. As Kashinkoji isn't the only person that can see the future. Boruto can do it too by tapping into Momoshiki's powers, which Momoshiki has already given him full access to. Although it is not as strong as Kashinkoji's, because Momoshiki can only see the future concerning himself, while Prescience allows the person who holds it to see all different possibilities. Although this is the case, Boruto still has hope with his abilities. But yet, it still is an uphill battle. This could potentially be the reason why Boruto and Kawaki are fighting in the time skip, because Amado is pushing Kawaki and manipulating him to remove the only other person who can see the future and potentially stop the future that Amado desires. Boruto, the only other person who is able to see the future, which would mean that the fight is happening to control the future. Boruto versus Kawaki, Amado versus Boruto. This is why this moment that we are seeing here, chapter 35, could be the moment that changed everything regarding the future that we know. And this could be the reason why the future that we end up going to is completely horrifying. But in order to really understand Boruto's last hope, which is his own future sight, you have to watch this video right here.